let's look at the news around this potential NBC Universal launch of a new cable sports channel. It really took me by surprise. I guess what's old is new. We saw the folding of NBC Sports Network back in 2021, but here we are with a potential another new cable sports network from NBCU. What do you make of it all, Mollie?
Just want to give a shout out to the Wall Street Journal. They did first report this news. I took a different angle at it. I'm curious how the MVPDs are going to respond. And I can tell you, I talked to one or two of the big guys, and they're confused too. They hadn't heard from NBC about it. The first they learned was from the media. But it's really interesting to me, Austin, because sources are adamant it's not going to undercut Peacock. And it's not going to be on your standard cable tier. This is going to be an a la carte offering where you have to pay extra for it. So I just don't understand why you would do that if you have Peacock.
Yeah, definitely a nice scoop by Joe Flint there in the Wall Street Journal. My question is, is this thing ever going to happen? Are we having another sort of conversation like what we had with Spulu, Venue, whatever the hell the name was? Is this going to get off the ground? Or was this a trial balloon to see how the industry, how distributors like you are talking about, how they're responding to this type of news?
From what I'm hearing, it's probably going to get off the ground. You and I didn't really think that about Venue. But this seems a little bit more certain to get off the ground than a Spulu/Venue.
If you're one of the properties that has a ton of games on Peacock already, I'm thinking the NBA in particular, because 50% of this deal for NBC that's starting up next season, most of those are supposed to be Peacock games. There are obviously a lot of other properties with things on Peacock. Any concerns that you've heard from some of the properties you may have spoken to?
No, I haven't, actually. An NBA source told me that the league fully supports NBC launching a cable network, kind of anything that brings more accessibility to games, more ways to touch base, more touch points, essentially.
Now, I remember back in 2019, ACC Network was getting off the ground, and a lot of comments were, I can't believe that they're launching a cable network in 2019, whatever it was. Here we are, 2025, still talking about launching a cable sports network, so we'll see where this eventually ends up.
Comcast has its earnings this morning, so we will probably hear a little bit more about that as the day goes on.
All right, last thing on that, Mollie. What sort of tier do you think that this sort of network might land on?
It's an a la carte offering, so you're going to be able to add it to your cable bundle, but it's still going to be up on that higher tier. And I mean, this is a national network. This isn't an RSN. So you are seeing a whole discourse around RSNs being elevated to the higher tiers. You're having to pay more for that. Just happened with Marquee Sports Network and NBC's parent company, Comcast. So it's way too early to talk about carriage fees or anything like that. But we will keep digging into this. We will keep asking the questions, and we will learn more.
Well, Mollie, the potential for another NBC Universal cable channel is something we're going to have to keep an eye on.